Hello, today we're going to talk about Nubia, one of the most important and earliest of civilizations. And even in these days, people who are descendants of the ancient Nubia are today living in Egypt and in Sudan. And our guest today is Mona Sherif Nelson, who is of a Nubian origin, who comes from Egypt from the beginning and now lives in California. And I'm going to start this conversation by asking you, Mona, who are you really? And can you tell us about your life history? How did you come from Nubia to California, and how were you raised?
Yeah, hi, how are you doing? And thank you so much for inviting me. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my beloved country, Nubia. A quick history about Nubia and Egypt, just because I wanted to explain Nubian Egyptian, what does that mean? The Nubian Kingdom, which is originally the the Kingdom of Kush, the son of Ham. I don't know, I'll go a little bit back to explain how that also came about. As far as we understand that Noah of the Ark had a son, his name is Ham, and the son had 3 sons. He sent every one of his sons to where there is 2 rivers getting together to start a kingdom. The first son, he sent him to upper Nile, where the Blue Nile and the White Nile get together, creating a delta. And he got him to start the kingdom there, and that was the Kingdom of Kush. Then the second son, Masarem, he sent him to where the Nile in Egypt kind of it splits to 2 rivers and ending up in the Mediterranean Sea. And in that area, he sent his second son to start the second kingdom. And he sent the third son to where it is Iraq right now, where there is 2 rivers, Furat. They get together and they start the okay, my English is not going to help me, but anyway, he started a civilization there. It is a very well known in English. It's very difficult, but so Masarem Kush, he started the Kingdom of Kush, the Kushite Kingdom, and that was in the south of Egypt, which it is always referred to as the Upper Egypt, because Egypt, the land in Africa, it goes from the south to the north, like higher in the south and lower in the north. That's why the Nile water move from the south to the north. So the Kingdom of Nubia, it was from a first cataract all the way to where the 2 rivers split, and it was a big kingdom. But when the British came, they decided to put borders to create what now it is called Egypt and it's called Sudan. And when they did that border, they took the lower Nubia, which is my village, it is a part of it, and put the border to Egypt, and so between Egypt and Sudan in there. So some Nubians, they belong to Egypt and they call themselves Nubian Egyptian. And of course, some Nubian villages, it kind of landed in the Sudanese area of the board of the lines, and those they are the Sudanese Nubian, and actually they are proud to call themselves just the Sudanese, forgetting about their Nubian. However, Nubian Egyptians, they are very proud and insisting on adding the word Nubia to Egypt, and we call ourselves Nubian Egyptian. As from where I came from, I am, as you said, my name is Mona. I'm, of course, if I introduce myself according to official paper, I am Mona Muhyiddin Sherif in Egypt. In America, I am Mona Sherif Nelson. And between my people, I'm officially Mona Muhyiddin Hassan Sherif Ali Dawood Khalil Ahmed Dibabe Kake. This is as much as I can go. But Nubians, they are very much into genealogy, and we proudly try to keep tracing and collecting as much information about ancestry as far as we can. I come, my village, it is Abu Simbel village, and my family, we go back to Nefertari. She was the wife of Ramses II. Her name was Ashranda, before Ramses II married her and changed her name to an Egyptian name, which is Nefertari. But her name was Ashranda, and then he changed her name to Nefertari. As I said, my family, we go back again to that time. I mean, can trace ourselves to all that. And my village is Abu Simbel village, which was across the Nile from the Abu Simbel temple, a temple Ramses II built just across the Nile from our village, trying to, kind of as a way to show respect to the family of his wife, Nefertari. I grew up in Cairo, and then I got married, and a few years later, I ended up in California with my husband and my kids. So I hope I didn't go very far away from the question because I can see myself doing that. But if I do that, it is just because I have, all kind of the information I have, it has all kind of branches. So I'm trying to kind of tap into every branch to tell you what I'm talking about before, I go to the real question. So I hope you don't mind me doing that.
In the United States, you started an organization, the Nubian Foundation for Preserving Cultural Heritage. Can you tell us about it? Why did you do it, and how did you do it?
Yeah, when I came to Los Angeles, I remember the first time I came in. Of course, I'm Black, and there is a cultural within cultural when you come to America, where the Black, they have their own way of communicating with each other, to have their own culture within the big culture of in America. Of course, I came to America not having that in mind and not knowing, because as a Nubian, I actually grew up to be not only very proud of my color, but also don't have any kind of feeling good or bad about the other color. So when I came to America, I stumbled upon this culture. I was forced to get through this culture, the American culture, where Black people, they always kind of recognize each other. When you are walking in the street, you would see Black people, they would look at each other and they would have to nod and say, sister, hi sister. And you're supposed to say, oh, hi brother, or something like that without anybody else is noticing. Or, we have to, it's almost like ants. You have to give like an eye contact and not kind of, without to recognize each other or something like that. And that was really fascinating to me. But the thing which made me actually insisting or decided to start the Nubian Foundation for Preserving Cultural Heritage, which my father had a chapter of it in Egypt, doing a certain thing. When I came to America, I would introduce myself. And when I say I am originally Egyptian, Black Americans, they would absolutely like they wondered how I can be a Black and call myself Egyptian. And when I explained that I am Nubian, that's why I'm Black, because I'm Nubian Egyptian, then all of them, they would start saying, I am Nubian too. And at the beginning, of course, I would ask them, really? Are you Fajicha? Are you Matoki? Are you Mahas? What family you are from? Because I know the families, I know, the tribes and things like that. And they would get very confused, don't understand what I'm talking about. And I realized that when they say I am Nubian, or I'm Nubian queen, or I'm Nubian too, they did not mean that they did not know that there is even Nubia. It is some kind of culture. All what they knew that Nubia, it means to them in their head, it is another word or another expression to say I'm Black or I'm African American, or whatever, as they change the way they introduce themselves throughout history. They were thinking maybe to change to change the way they introduce themselves, or to the word Nubia, not having the Nubian culture or the Nubian history in the equation. It is just another way to say Black. When I realized that, I found out that they are really very fascinated when they hear about Nubian and the history of Nubia and the culture of Nubia. And I, without even questioning, I knew the need of an organization, cultural organization, educational cultural organization to introduce Nubia, and hopefully by doing that, Nubia would stay, inside me and my kids, and kind of convey or be revealed to all African Americans, and also Americans in general, white or whoever color they are. They were fascinated and appreciate the fact is that the actual Nubian person who still speaks the ancient language and lived in that place, assumingly experiences the same old era or the ancient era, and this just walking between them and talking to them. And I had a great time talking to people, educating them, explaining to them who the Nubian are, our culture, how did we came about wearing jeans and walking between them. So yeah.
Okay. You have been talking a little bit about it before, the identity as a Nubian, really. Today, who is a Nubian? That is my question. Who calls themselves Nubian, and what is characterizing them? There are people in Egypt calling themselves Nubian, and there are also people in the Sudan who call themselves Nubians, such as the Nubia people, for example. I were growing up in Sudan, and the Nubia people call themselves Nubians. So what is really the essence? Is it the language, or is it some cultural traits, or what is it really?
That's a wonderful question. The Nuba people, they are not the Nubian. The Nuba, it is Nubians, coming from the word, as I told you, Nubian, it is the kingdom of Kush. It is a kingdom which is, we have more pyramids than the Egyptians they had, not as big, but more pyramids than the Egyptian had. We had temples, we had a very strong culture and history in the Nubian Kingdom. And the Nuba, the people in Nuba, this is tribes in the, as far as I know, it is way in the middle of Africa, which people they haven't had. They were not the people who lived in the Kushet land. So Nubian, it is the people who live. Nubian, the people they live in the Kushet land, which is, it goes all the way from the Sixth Cataract, which is in Khartoum, all the way up to where Aswan is, which is in the south of Egypt. That used to be the kingdom, the Nubian Kingdom, or the Kushite Kingdom. The reason why it was called Nubia, it is because in our land we had gold. Gold to the Egyptian, it was the blessing or the hand of God, Aton, the sun. So gold in earth, it's supposed to be a blessing from the Aton, the sun, in earth to people in earth. And it was very important in the Egyptian mythology and in the Egyptian ritual and protection and all kinds of things like that during the Pharaoh's kingdom. The Pharaohs really valued gold. Gold, it was only found in Nubia. Nub, the word nub, it means gold, and Egyptians, they called us Nubia instead of Kush, the Kushite, because we were the people who has the gold and the land of gold. It is Nubia, it means the gold, the land of gold. So Nubians, they are the people who are coming from the land of gold, which again, it used to be Kushite and then it's changed. And the reason why the word Nubia, it has been stuck on us instead of the ancestor of the Kush or the Kushite. The reason why it is stuck more, it is two reasons. Number one, it is because the pharaohs who they believed that their king, the pharaoh, the rulers, the pharaoh, is a god on earth. For that reason, they would write down everything he did or he said, or it is a part of the prayer. So their temples, it was covered with information about the king. That's why also the Egyptian history and antiquity, it is very, very sought after, because people, they can just look at what is on the wall and know the story of that king and what happened in that during that time. So those kings, they would write about Nubia in the word Nubia, and the Nubians, and when the Nubian queens to come to visit them, bring them a present of gold and stuff like that, they would call her the Nubian queen, as the queen of gold, or the land of gold. So that is stuck for that reason. And the second reason why it is stuck, that after the building of the high dam, Abdel Nasser was the president of Egypt at that time. He was so happy and also kind of wanted to honor the Nubians because we gave our ancestor land to create the reservoir behind the dam. So he wanted to honor the Nubians. So in his speech, he would be talking about us and thanking us, calling us Nubians. And that stuck in the Egyptian, between the Egyptian, as those they are the Nubians, those they are the people who were, we have to pay homage to for giving us their land for to have this dam, which was a very important accomplishment that the Egyptian, they were very proud of, and especially the president Abdel Nasser. So that's why Egyptians, they would call us Nubian, and we were very proud to be a part of that. So we would call ourselves Nubian instead of Kush or Kushite, or the family of Kush, the descendants of Kush. So so anyway, so that's why there is a Nubian in Sudan and Nubian in Egypt, since again the kingdom, it was extended all the way from Khartoum in Sudan all the way up Nile to south of Egypt, Aswan, and that was the Nubian Kingdom. The British came, divided that portion of it. Some villages became, it was in Egypt, and those they call themselves Nubian, Egyptian Nubian, and the one who is in Sudan, they call themselves Sudanese Nubian. Okay. I hope that explained it, because it is complicated a little bit.
Okay, my question now is, if you want to tell us something more about Nubia as an ancient civilization and its significance in history, if you have more to say about that.
Well, significance. Well, as I said, there is Nubians. We have something which is very interesting. As I told you, the Nubians, they have held in. We were able to hold on our ancient civilization for as long as possible. And I can say, I mean, until 1960, after the high dam and moving us out from our ancestor villages, land, that kind of mark the first of the deterioration and vanishing of the Nubian civilization. But before that, we were hanging on our land, and we were able to kind of holding on our tradition. And since, you know, our ancestor tens of thousands of years. Nubian's kingdom, it was very sought after for the Egyptian kingdom during the Pharaoh's time, because not only because, of course, we had the gold, and the Egyptians, they believed that every single of their gods not only atone the sun, but also Horus is the bird, the falk. He was a falcon, and all the gods of the pharaohs, their homes was actually for some reason they believed that it was in the Nubian land. So they absolutely had lots of respect for their cousins, the Nubians, because we were cousins, of course. We are coming from the same lineage. Nubians, when we started when we had our kingdom, it was built in completely different ways than the Egyptian did. Our kingdom, we had most of our dynasties, it was run or led by women. We actually respected women so much, and their intelligence, and trusted them so much that almost all the dynasties, Nubian dynasties, they were women queen. And only one dynasty, it was the 21st dynasty, as far as I remember, starting by Pi, it was the only dynasty which was men. And what did they do? They go and invade Egypt, and they became pharaohs, and they kind of make sure to have bigger kingdom. But women, they always insisted on having a good relationship with their cousins, the Egyptian, but not try to to cause any problems. Again, what made Nubian Kingdom, it is really, or the Kushite Kingdom, it is really very important. The fact is that it has very kind of structure where Nubians, they had specialization, where people, they are in the army, they are only in the army. So this is their profession. And then people, they are in like engineers and farmers. Everyone has his own profession. On the other hand, the Egyptian, the king or the pharaohs would use the farmers all the time as farmers, and then if there is a flood, there would be a builder and engineers, and if there is a war, they would be a soldier. He would use him as a soldier. So there was no specialization, and while the Nubians, we have a completely different structure. Also, the Egyptians, they believed, as I said, that the pharaoh is God on earth, and that's why it is a part of the prayer in the temple. It is to write down, to record what this God did on earth, the pharaohs did on earth. Nubian, on the other hand, they did not believe that rulers, they are gods. We believed that they are only human beings, they are they are queens, and we would not write on the temples anything but prayers. That's why it is the Nubian antiquity, it is or the history, it is not as exciting as the Egyptian one, because the Egyptian one, again, you go in the temple or you open the tomb and you see the sarcophagus, and you would see information. It is written in front of you in black and white. While with the Nubian, you go into the temple and there is only prayers. So you have to guess who is doing what, unless the Egyptian they wrote about it. So if the queen, she came and visit Egypt, you would see in the temples that the king met this, Nubian queen who brought this stuff. The pharaohs had a fight or invaded Nubia and, had slaves and cut their necks, or, he forces the Nubian to have their soldier to join the Egyptian army to do whatever, so you would know about Nubia in black and white only if it has something to do with the pharaohs. But I'm for the Nubian impact on the history. The fact is that there was a civilization, I think. The fact is that there was such a profound civilization, heads and heads, if not even exceeded the Egyptian civilization. It says a lot about Black Africa as not very black as, or not as backwards as it was. It's for a long time it was perceived. So I think it is very significant for us now, and it should have been, for the whatever the Nubians they added to civilizations through their strong history.
Well, I know there's a very beautiful Nubian art also. So can you tell us about the Nubian art and what is the characteristic of the Nubian art and so on?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked this question, actually, because this is one of the things which is I did my dissertation on, and for my surprise, I actually discovered lots of things about the Nubian art. And I'm a Nubian, and I lived between this, but I was young when I moved from the ancestor village, and as you can imagine, that everything it became like obsolete, and surviving as Nubian who, kind of lost almost everything in the ancestor village, going to try to figure a way to fit in, the new world. For us, Cairo, also Egypt, it welcomed us with open arm, but it was a struggle. It was, to fit in, it took lots of our energy, and with it, we lost a lot of value and culture, and it kind of anyway, so we lost a lot. Part of it is the significance of art in the Nubian culture and heritage. So when we talk about the art, number one, usually Nubians, we believe also there is a lot of oral history. Women, they would gossip about it in the village, and I don't know if it would fill blank where they get it from or anything like that. But I'm going to repeat one of them, which is kind of explain a little bit something or make a logic of something. We have certain villages in Nubian, between the Nubian in the ancient, in the old Nubia. We had certain villages where the people, they are very famous and mastering certain kind of skill. Me, I'm from Abu Simbel, and from Abu Simbel, we are very good in art, any kind of art, music, dancing, painting, drawing, name it, acting, any kind of art. Abu Simbel village, all the Nubians everywhere, they would know that Abu Simbel village, Abu Simbelian people from Abu Simbel village, they are the one who is the best in that. Then we go to Adindan, and they are very good with numbers. They are accountant, like beyond accountant, and so on. There is certain kind, and there is writers, and there is so on. And there is also historians who just like to record, So, and Nubians, they would claim that when Ramses II came to build this huge temple, Abu Simbel temple, for his wife, for his wife and her family across the Nile from our village. He employed people of the village, of each village, to be just focused in one thing. And Nubians from Abu Simbel, from my village, they were supposed to be the one who is doing the sculpturing, the music, the art, all these things. So, and of course, the other villages, everyone was doing something else. So Nubian, we are very well known for being for Nubian Abu Simbel people. We are very well known for that. However, throughout Nubia, since the woman, she's the lady of the house, we take it to kind of a different kind of level of assuming this kind of title. So when a man would go and propose to a woman and she accept, the man would go with his friend, build a house. Then after he finished, the woman, she would come, the bride-to-be, she would come with her friend and she would fix outside the house, and then she herself have to decorate outside the house with all kinds of motifs in whatever her heart desired to make her house look nice. For sometimes until my dissertation, I started my research with the dissertation, and according to lots of books was written about that decoration, wall decoration the Nubians they had, I thought that it is mainly for decoration. Then I found out, once I start my research, of course, since I'm Nubian, I can get more information, because people, they would not shy away from telling me things which they would think that people, they would think about it they would think it is funny, or they would think that it is not proper or whatever. I found out that this motifs, the woman, she would draw outside her house, it is a way for, it is a communication between her and the society. It is for her to tell them, I am the lady of the house, and this is what I am all about. And people in the village, they would come and they would just take a glance at those drawings, and they would be able to tell, oh, this woman, she's superstitious. The lady of this house, she is religious. The lady of this house, she's funny. The lady of this house, she's very meticulous. The lady of this house, she's whatever. And according to that interpretation, men in the afternoon, or women, if they wanted to have time talking about religion, they would actually go to that house, which is, they can tell that this woman, she is religious, and they would go and they will, visit that woman, and they would talk about religion. And if they wanted to have fun, joking, they would go to the other house, which is the woman, the lady of the house. She seems like she is very light-hearted, and she likes to jokes, and they would go to that house with that thing in mind, that we are going to the lady of the house according to her term and what kind of person she is. For that reason, drawing and painting and art, especially for women, it was really very important to kind of be able to and of course, it was nothing to be taught. It is just, it has to be coming from the heart, and reflection to what she knows about, what she feels, or what she wants to put out there. And so art, it is very important. It is a communication. It is not only for decoration, but it is actual communication and announcement, if you will, of that woman, or for lady of the house, to the villager and the people around her. So art, it is very significant to the Nubian. Dancing, it is a prayer. It is something we take it really strongly, and yeah. So.
And can you say something about the oral tradition? The oral tradition, I've seen you telling stories on the internet, for example. Can you say something more about that?
The oral tradition. Oh yeah. Well, there is a lot of things, but you know, Nubians is one of the things which is really very interesting. It is of course not practiced anymore, and it is because Nubians now they get all their value and moral from the TV and from, you know, outside all the culture. So everything it changed. But one of the things which was really very also interesting, that we had like a bracelet. Nubians, they would wear it on in the upper part of her arm. The wife, the woman, the you know, the wife, she would put it on the upper part of her arm, and the woman, she would be walking in if the woman she needs her husband, she needs actually to sleep with him, she would roll her sleeve up, showing that bracelet. And she would go into between, you know, the husband, if the husband sitting with other people or something like that, then the people, they would know it is time for them to leave. The woman, she needs her husband, and her husband would know that this is his cue. That this, you know, this gathering, it has to be, you know, it has to be disturbed. It has to be done with, because it is time for him to. His woman, she's calling for him, and I thought that was really. It is just. I mean, we make. I personally, because again, I'm wearing jeans and stuff. I thought it was very blunt, but I absolutely appreciated the fact is that. That contradict everything about women being repressed and you know, not able to. She's not the one who is running the show or something like that. Plus the other fact, which is symbolistic kind of, the Nubians is finding a way to communicate with each other without really words, without, you know, being vulgar and, you know, say something, but in the same time being upfront, being very honest about what, you know, they want to communicate, and people read it, you know, able to read it clearly without even teaching each other how to read those things and how to it is just a kind of somehow it is passed from one to another. So yeah, this is one of the tradition which of course is no longer is happening. It's completely lost, but yeah, I hope that's what you were asking. I don't know.
But are there stories that live, that people, if they don't tell them to each other, they know the old stories? Is it like that? Do they remember stories from older times?
Yeah, well, for us who lived in the old village, there was like all kind of the setup where we lived. It kind of dictated a certain kind, or it gave us the opportunity to pass a certain kind of tradition, and from, you know, generation to generation, because of the setup, because, you know, you still see the Nile. So if, you know, if Nubians, they would have the Nile as a part of their way of their celebrating certain things like wedding and death and the birth of a new baby. There was a ceremony where the Nile, it was a part of it. So living by the Nile, it was easy for us to kind of take this tradition and keep going with it and not losing it. once we were kicked out, once we were pulled out from the Nile, and of course, going to the big cities, you would shy away from certain kind of tradition because you would see that you would be judged that maybe you are not very good Muslim, because here you're kind of getting blessing from the Nile god, like the pharaohs used to do, and waiting for the Aton, the sun, to kind of cleanse you and all these things. And so you would be judged how you can be a Muslim and doing that. And so you would shy away from this. You wouldn't even talk about it. And before you know it, you deny it even. So lots of tradition, it is kind of, passed through because it is insignificant, or because there is no the mean to keep it, or because it is just for feeling, shy away from, you shy away from saying it. You want to fit in the big picture, and small things like that, it may smears you or smears your kind, and you kind of try to not to try to forget it purposely, or not even purposely. It can be just it is not needed, like the Nubian language. It's really not needed, because now I speak Arabic, which is most of the people communicate with. The university and the schooling, it is in Arabic. So and of course I speak English, so I can communicate with other part of the world. But if I would put the effort to learn language, I would learn something like English or Japanese or something like that. But I'm not going to put my effort to learn Nubian. So it with that, it goes with the language, it goes the music, it goes the certain part of the traditions, lots of things that goes with the language. So yeah.
Yeah, you have been talking. I'm thinking about that the Nubians is a minority in Egypt and in Sudan and so forth. So what is the main challenges for the Nubian?
Well, the Nubians, they are actually the most
Nubians and the Nubian culture, you think?
Well, number one, actually, if you allow me to, Nubians, they are actually the majority. They are considered the majority in Sudan. It is just the Nubian in Sudan, they wanted to be, since Sudan, it is an Arab country, and they did not want it to be isolated from the Arab country and be considered an African country. So they insist on, as much as they can, to lose the language and insist on speaking the Arabic language. With that, they kind of forgotten as Nubians, most of them. But the Sudanese, they are mainly Nubians. That's number one. Then Nubian Egyptian, being a majority, it is true, we are a majority, but because of the fact is that we have a very distinguished color, way of speaking. Most of us, we have a way of speaking, which has a little bit of broken Arabic. Actually, now our kids, they master the Arabic languages because they don't know the Nubian languages, so they speak very good Arabic. But when I moved to Cairo, my Arabic, it was not that good. The way I dressed, the way I walked, even everything about me, it was like a big flag saying I am different than the rest of Egyptian. And I would be asked, where are you from? And I would say I'm Nubian. And although we are majority in Egypt, we were able to, at least our elderly, they were able to build a very strong kind of a very kind of aura around the Nubian, as they are the most the nicest people, and the Egyptian accepted that the Nubians, they are the most generous, the most the honest, the very clean, and lots of very positive, positive indication or positive things about the Nubian and Egyptian. They have been and are very appreciative to that quality the Nubians they have. And any Egyptian would tell you, yes, the Nubians, we love them because they are very, very proud people.
Okay. Can you say something about the Nubian diaspora? Also, where do Nubians live nowadays over the world?
Yeah, I actually, I have my own way of thinking about this. As I told you from the beginning, when the Egyptians, they built the high dam, they built it for a very important reason for the country and for the well-being of all Egyptian in general, including the Egyptian. So it is just was a pity that above our ancestral villages, there was this cataract, which made a very good natural walls for the high dam to be built and to have this ability, causing, of course, the accumulation of the water behind the dam, which is claimed our villages. Abdel Nasser, he has did a number of things which I think it is positive, although some Nubians, they kind of find a way to look at it as a negative, and they spreading that words. And it is one of the things, as I said, he put us back again in the society as a Nubian, which is Egyptian. By that time, they didn't know what Nubians are, or they would not talk about us in a tone of proud and as some people they have their impact on the Egyptian society, positive impact on the Egyptian society. So Abdel Nasser, he came and he enforced that idea that the Nubians they have give to Egypt a lot. And the second thing, he built villages. For every village we moved out from, he built the villages, but it was the choice, it was two wrong things. One of them, it was away from the Nile, which is, of course, not knowing how important the Nile to the Nubians. So they built the villages away from the Nile. And also they built the homes, the houses from rocks or stones. Nubians, we never built our homes from stones. But at that point, at that time, of course, Egyptians thought that this is improvement to what the primitive way of we had our homes. We looked at that as really very degrading way of putting us, because we build homes for the animals with the stones, but us, it has to be with the adobe bricks made of mud and silt and stuff like that. So to see our homes, it is made from rocks. It was kind of shock to us, and but I have to admit that we understood that to the Egyptian who lives in homes made of cement, that this is improvement in their opinions, is that they are bringing us to the civilization kind of thing. The other thing, which is the Egyptians, they didn't know, but again, keep in mind that era, that they built the home exactly in rows, exactly looking alike. And that was a completely, has nothing to do with our way, like, as I said, usually groomed to be with, built as a house with his friend to his wife. So every house in the Nubian, we had our houses built. It has more of memories, and it has its own character and all kinds of things away from each other. We don't share walls with our neighbors. When we moved to the new villages, it was rows of homes like soldier, and next to each other, look exactly alike in a very strange way. And that was another shock. But again, that was that's during the socialist Egypt, where everything, you know, it has to be, we are the worker, everybody has to have the same exact, the same exact quality of life. And that was a kind of the era at that time. But again, it did not work within our Nubian way of, our tradition and culture and everything like that. And so in a way, we understand that the Egyptians, they were aware of our needs to have villages, our need to, if we are going to move from our villages, the government has to put it on herself to get us accommodated and all kinds of things, which they did. It is just they did it according to their way of thinking of how to be as generous as possible to us, which was completely to us. It is not, it did not, it shows us that they had no idea what is these people, or they knew, but they thought, let's improve them, let's bring them to the 21st century. As we still, as arrogant as we can be, human beings, they tended to be arrogant and think that we are better than others, and let's get them to, to be like us. That's, typical.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions. Do you, Leif?
No, really, I don't have any more questions either.
Brilliant.
Yes. No, we are very thankful for this conversation that has given us much information about the Nubians. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it again for having that chance and the opportunity to talk to you. And I hope that this has kind of opened doors for more conversation about Nubia and the culture and the heritage of the modern and of course the past, because this is, I consider you giving me opportunity, or giving the Nubian culture opportunity to preserve it is, some of it is heritage through program like yours and curiosity of people like yours. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.